better than ever. And I know right now that I'm going somewhere and I need some cheddar. Oh, baby,
Hey, what's
better
up,
not
everyone?
go.
It's Andre Luck here with my next episode of the Sports Sales Show, where today I'm going to talk about, I'm actually going to do a recap of the past couple episodes I've done around sales and marketing, where bringing those two together can really help drive revenue, and having those two aligned are really big for organizations. So what I'll do is talk through some of the lessons I learned and like big takeaways. So if you've watched all of them, this will be somewhat of a recap for you. But if you haven't, this is a treat for you. Kind of take everything I talked about over the past 4 or 5 episodes and just bundled into one episode. So this week we'll go ahead and start with the recap. So I'll go through 5 or 6 lessons that I took away, and then talk about next steps and everything like that. So one of the first lessons we started with was making sure that there's alignment around your ideal customer profile. So between sales, marketing, customer success, your leadership, identifying like who's the best person we should go after. So a lot of times you want to look at like the biggest companies in your area for a sports team, or just look at the biggest logos, but are those actually the best customers for you? When you look at your actual client base, when you look in your CRM system and the people that you work with and the deals that close the fastest, a lot of times in sports, it's small to mid-sized companies because there's less red tape, it's easier to get through. And a lot of times especially in blue collar industries, those people are sports fans, or their employees are sports fans, or some of the clients that they work with are sports fans. So that's actually a better fit and sometimes more profitable, because you got to think about too how difficult it's going to be to serve this customer, make sure that they're achieving their goals and everything like that. So what's the total cost, not just the revenue and everything that you're bringing into it, but what's actually the profit that the business is taking home? Because that's what the CEO, that's what the president, that's what the board's thinking about, is profitability, and like how are we building sustainably. And so yes, we get a lot of big logos, but it costs us a lot of time. It takes us a lot of resources. We have to go out and hire these really expensive sales reps to go do it. That all factors into the bottom line. So making sure that you're understanding, you're working with your finance team, like who's the best people that we go after, who's the most profitable, and then identifying who those accounts are, not just the biggest logos. And then once you identify what those type of companies are, what's the quickest sales motion? Is it going directly to a director, going straight to the top to a CEO? Is it bringing in multiple people? Really understanding your sales motion versus just winging it and hoping this company's interested in tickets, but having a strategic plan as you go about that. So really aligning on what that ideal customer profile is, so that the sales team knows who they're going after, the marketing team knows who they're going after, and there's shared alignment between that. And I'll talk that'll be a common theme through each of these takeaways and lessons. So that's the first one. Second one, messaging to your customers, or using messaging from your customers, not just your own opinions of what messaging is going to work. So a lot of times we'll get in a boardroom and either the loudest voice or just a bunch of opinions, or you talk to this one client recently, and like that becomes now your messaging that you're going to focus on, and like this is what's going to resonate in the market. But are we actually using the words that our customers use? So doing customers interviews, from your customers, your clients, like your retention team, like having those conversations and like taking that feedback and taking those notes, looking at your call recordings, looking at your CRM notes, like what are they saying, is the reason that they're buying? Like what are they saying in the deal that like really moves forward, and like actually using that language in your marketing. So if you're doing like a LinkedIn ad, or if you're doing a billboard, whatever it be, like actually putting like in the caption, or like on like the graphic, like people's actual words that they're using. I know we sampled this a little bit when I was in Houston, and all around the different parts of the ballpark, we had different types of creative for the different type of customers. We had, phrases that a business client would use, and then like a super fan, and then a family fan, and so it was all kind of around the ballpark. So every time someone would see it and they resonated with that, that would relate to them. I don't know how much that actually drove, but that was one of our first attempts of like being more strategic on, making sure that we're marketing to all different types of fans, and actually using creative that would resonate with them and hook that emotional appeal, but then also language that they use in conversation with us, versus just whatever we thought would make the most sense, which is typically more product focused, which leans into my next lesson takeaway, which is, campaigns need to drive pipeline, not just be campaigns. And so a lot of times we'll focus on like products, and like, oh, we got to push suites, we got to push season tickets, we got to push groups. And there's parts of that and times to do that when someone's probably deeper down the funnel. We can talk more about a product that makes the most sense. When you're trying to engage somebody or just cast a wide net and reach a large audience, you want to talk about more of the problems that you solve and those people that resonate with that. Because if they're buying just transactionally, like there's no guarantee that they're going to come back. Like once that transaction's over, if it comes down to cost, like you're going to lose there. But if you could show that you solve big business problems, which unlocks a lot of budget, and that's actually going to be the thing that helps move them forward in their business, they're going to be more likely to talk to you and understand, or want to reach out and have conversation about and understand how you help others like them. So when you're messaging versus just buy season tickets, here's the perks and benefits, like here's the problems that we solve. We help CEOs achieve profitability, if that's what it may be. We help new sales leaders drive new client acquisition or increase new client acquisition, and kind of telling testimonials and stories. And even if you don't have use cases yet, like some teams I work with, like, hey, this is our first season, like we're an inaugural team, could you start to tell the story of like why people are interested in having meetings with you, or at least why they what's come out of some of those meetings that they have, of what makes them interested in your product, and starting to tell that proof of concept and everything like that. But at the end of the day, we got to make sure that it's helping drive pipeline. We're not just doing a bunch of cool marketing stuff. So understanding where each person is within the pipeline, like are we at the awareness stage with people, and what's gonna get them just aware of us. Because again, I've said this plenty of times, 95% of the people that you're targeting, 95-ish, are not in market for your product, but we got to engage them. We got to talk about things that at least get them aware of who we are, so that when they do have that problem, they think of us and we come top of mind, and we're in that top 3 to 4 of potential vendors that they're going to go after when they look to solve that problem. And so the problem they're looking to solve is, customer retention, employee turnover, client acquisition, not season tickets, or I need tickets to do a group outing. Like there's a bigger business problem or higher customer priority that or a higher internal priority, business priority that they're focused on. And then we want to talk about things like that, because that's going to attract more people and unlock more budget and lead to more long-term sales and retention, more lifetime value out of those customers. So next lesson, next takeaway, big deals. So lesson 4, big deals require an account-based motion. So not just sales working in one lane and marketing working in one lane, but like everyone coming together and identifying the named accounts that we want to go after. So like it's 30 or 50 or 100, whatever it may be, like getting very specific and putting dedicated resources toward that. So a marketing person, a salesperson when they come on board, a customer success person, and once they come on board, not just stopping at the sale, but also going past the sale and making sure that we're continuing to market and the renewal. That's going to lead to growth. That's going to lead to expansion. That's going to lead to more opportunities. A lot of times we, stop once the lead gets to sales. And we're like, all right, sales, it's on you, but we can create custom content. We can create case studies, ROI stories, things like that, that engage different buyers within the committee, because there's, stakeholders, different stakeholders that are involved. Any big deal typically involves 7 to 10 stakeholders. So if we all could meet together and say, all right, here's with this account, here's the game plan. We know the CEO, our, CFO has a relationship with that person. You're kind of mapping it all out and understanding like what the web is that we need to work through, and who do we engage, and what's most relevant to them based on what's going on in their business and trends in their industry, and create content to engage them. Now we're trying to get those, now we start to move those people into market and pipeline and have conversation with us. Because with any big organization, there's probably 10 to 12 smaller sales we can make. We go for the big sale, the $1 million sale, everything like that. If we could get a couple 15, 20, $30,000 sales across different departments, and then look to see potentially how we consolidate, or just know that, all right, we're always going to have these sales across the business, versus trying to, what we call, mush sandwich and mush proposal, bring everything together. Like they're never going to decide on that. And how are you going to say, all right, we're going to get this $1 million purchase or $500,000 purchase, whatever it may be, and here's how we're going to evenly divide it? Like they're never going to get along. One of the slides that we talk about in our training is, I think it's like 86% of internal problems come from the lack of employees being able to collaborate. So they don't work well together. And I see this in companies I work with, and going back to my time working on the team side. So we have to be that kind of project manager, that quarterback who's pushing everything along and bringing them together, having individual separate meetings, and identifying who all the people are, and taking these little opportunities, even if it's a small cell here, a small cell there, those all start to add up. Then we can bubble that up to the top and say, hey, across your business, you're using this, 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 and this. Like, what if we consolidated that? But if we start there, we're not going to have a lot of success. So taking that account-based approach across the awareness stage to the closing the sales stage, even past once they become a client, and like how do we continue to market to them. But the big thing there is having that feedback loop across the teams and updating people where they're at in each of the processes and what they're hearing, and how can we adjust and how can we tweak. Just that one onset meeting isn't enough. Like there has to be continual conversation, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever it may be, on these accounts, because that's the only way we're going to close big deals. There's a couple in the industry, or a couple, maybe even each team, that can close large deals. But imagine if each organization, each sports team had a team that was dedicated towards closing 5 6 figure deals. And it's not just on one person. Like, you probably would close a lot more of those, which is going to be a huge impact to the bottom line revenue, and then also the profitability, because we identified these are the people that are most profitable to go after, and we've engaged them with the right message, and we put the resources towards it. So, I used to talk a lot about a couple of years ago what the future of like a sports team and sales team looks like. Like, that could be a model that makes a lot of sense of versus hiring a ton of entry level reps and just, banging out phone calls, which a lot of teams are starting to be a little more strategic about that, which I think is good. But taking these team concepts and like more strategic approaches towards the bigger deals, and then obviously you have a lot of people doing volume on maybe some of the smaller deals, because you can't just sell a few big deals. Like, you have to have people to fill in the seats that are buying concession, parking, merchandise, everything like that. So you have to have both motions. You can't just have one or the other. And that's a good strategy if you're looking to go after bigger accounts, not just hiring a really expensive, like, top-notch salesperson. Like, they still need support, they need help, they need the resources to get there, and a couple sales and maybe success people or enablement people can help do that. So and the last piece, which I talk a lot about, is AI brings this all together. So in each of those different lessons we talked about, as you're identifying your ideal customer profile and like taking messaging from your customers and building out like a strategic plan, like, take all that data, those insights, everything you're working on, and let AI pull that all together and serve you insights. And so, a lot of times we'll just kind of do it off our own gut, and we put a lot of work into it, and there's hours that could be saved to get us to probably even a better version of like a first draft of what the campaign and the program looks like if we just allowed AI to help us with that. So whether that's Claude, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, I think Copilot, I think they're all great now. So pick the one that you prefer the most, but allowing that to collaborate and just put everything and ideate all your thoughts together in an organized format, and give you, the good thing too is it gives you some ideas that spark creativity and things that maybe you weren't thinking of. So it's not cheating. That is literally how everyone's working out. Everyone has this co-pilot, this assistant that's working with them at each stage in their work process, whether you're in marketing, finance, sales, HR. Like, everyone is using this now. And so we all need to adopt it and learn it and be prepared for it, so we can make impact and just get more done and drive more revenue for our organization. So as you're looking to use AI, obviously it's great if you have perfect data and perfect insights and everything like that that could allow you, because AI works best if you have the right information. But take the information that you have, take the data that you have, even if it's not perfect. You can focus on AI, can probably help you clean it a little bit, but just focus on what you have, but also building for what the future is and what you're looking to get to, and like what are little things you could do along the way to help maybe clean it and structure a little better. But don't let that be the reason that you stop, because then you'll never get started. So those are the big takeaways. And this last piece kind of ties into what stood out to me this week. So talking to a client, helping them with some of their AI enablement and like building out some of their AI processes. And one of the pieces of feedback they had, like from the session that we went out there and kind of introduced new prompts that they could use and everything like that, it's tough to get adoption and buy-in. They really had to focus on getting people to use it, because if you don't, like, you're just going to go back to the old ways of how you're working, which we all agreed in the session was not effective. And they're kind of asking like, all right, one, what advice do you have for that? But two, what does the future of all this look like? Like, we're prompting now, but like, what's the next evolution? And so I kind of flashed to them where we've taken Journey, the product I've talked about before, to another level, another evolution. So what started out as really good agents, like pre-built agents and assistants for sales teams, quickly we've evolved that to put those agents, behind the scenes, and using Journey more as that connector to take all your different sales tech stacks, so your call recording, your CRM system and sports, your ticketing system, your ticketing data, just anything your like Zoom info or something like that, data management, and that all kind of pushes into Journey. And now we can practically serve insights, because now we're reading all the data. And so when a rep says, "Oh, I think this deal's going to close," I feel good about it, we all get happy ears. But what AI is doing is it's actually reading the CRM notes. It's going through your emails and seeing like what the interactions are and what the conversations have been there. And it could give you, as a leader, a true audit and understanding of, yeah, they're saying this is like 90% likely to close. We're saying it's 50 because here's all the things that are missing. Now you can go back and help and coach that person. It's not necessarily being big brother, but it's helping them just get better with their day-to-day processes and everything like that. But going back to what we were talking about getting buy-in and getting the reps to use it, it's like now they don't have to think about, when do I use this agent? When do I use the outbound co-pilot agent or outbound meeting co-pilot agent or strategic deal navigator? Like every morning they're coming in, they have this cockpit, this operating system right in front of them that they take action on of like, hey, here are the top 10 things that you need to work on for today. And based on what's going to drive the biggest revenue or impact or whatever we program and decide is going to be most impactful for them. Like that's what the future looks like. It's taking all these insights and then serving the staff, serving the reps, serving the leaders. Like, hey, here's what's going on. You don't have to know, hey, I have to use this prompt or I need to know when to use this agent. It's using the agents are already working in the background to tell you, hey, this is what needs to get worked on. Here's what's missing in this deal. I've already drafted an email for you. Do you want to hit send? And all that data pushes back in your CRM system. So that's where we're headed. That's where we're moving with sports teams and not even sports teams, but particularly me with a lot of my relationships with the sports side. And the reception has been great. And so looking to get clients here starting to use it and get some proof of concepts and continue to take that across the industries. I think that's going to be a huge step forward for a lot of organizations in sports, out of sports, whatever it may be. Just sales teams looking to drive revenue and using AI. Like this is a great way to do it. Shout out, want to give a shout out to a company called Signalize AI. I think I might have mentioned them before, but they're taking AI and they're taking, what you look for and the type of leads that you would want to go after. So whether it's B2B or B2C, like you just talk to it of like, hey, here are the type of leads that I want. And it, pulls a list of leads that you can go after based on your need. But they're really starting to make impact in sports with a lot of sports teams. So guy by the name of Keenan, he runs that company. And his team, they're making a lot of moves, but want to give them a shout out because I think they're doing an amazing job. And I think that's a really cool product. So if you're looking for net new leads, people that aren't in your database, but maybe look alike or could be a good match to other people, that's what we're always looking for. Like, obviously we have data people that we work with, and sometimes you overexhaust those leads, or maybe you're trying to get new people into the funnel. Like this is a great tool and a great source, and they're just getting started, so they're really looking for teams and organizations to work with to help build out like what the kinks are. So it's one I've got to know well, and did some work on a couple projects that I'm working on, so check them out. But in closing, just bringing revenue teams closer together. So AI can obviously help with that, but there needs to be structures, processes, systems, alignment, everything like that for teams to work together. And then on the flip side of all this, like using AI for what the future looks like and like proactively serving insights to you, whether you're in sales, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in finance, like you don't have to look at the data, analyze it, and figure out what to do. Like it's telling you what to do with it. So the next series, or maybe next couple episodes, I don't know if it'll be a full series. Thinking I'll talk more about like the revenue operations side of the business. There's a couple people I've talked to who are really good salespeople, really strong, but they have an operational mindset, very organized and technical. And I liken myself to that in a lot of ways. And I've shared with them is, sometimes you have to swallow your pride a little bit. Like, what's the best impact you can make? And myself, I've had to do that with some clients of, yes, I can obviously help drive sales and coach sales, but where there is a gap for a lot of organizations and teams is on the revenue operations piece of it. And it's great if you have someone in revenue operations who's helping drive and support the sales team, but actually has a background understanding of sales. So probably shed some light on what that could look like for people either getting into the industry, or maybe you're in sales and like you like it, but you don't love it, and looking kind of what that next path is. So I'll touch on that. Maybe something new will come over the next week, but that's kind of where my head's at today. So that'll be next concept, next topic we talk about. But obviously, if you like this, hit the like button so this gets out to more people. Share this with somebody in your network. Subscribe so you can get updated on new episodes every week as those come out. But like I tell my daughters every morning when I drop them off for school, probably won't be school anymore as we're getting the last week of school. So just in the morning, go be awesome today. and I'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks.
That's nothing. I'ma be doing this and I'm gonna be head hunting. Oh, baby, don't know. Oh, baby, don't go. Oh, baby, don't know. Oh, baby, don't go.